The X-Men. Mutants. Heroes. United by fate, under the guiding eye of Professor Charles Xavier, the X-Men have sworn their lives to protect a world that fears and hates them. Cyclops, Jean Grey, Storm, Wolverine, Rogue, my waifu, Gambit, Jubilee, my other waifu, Iceman, Psylocke, SpongeBob, Michael Jackson, Starscream, Rich Evans, and so many more! Together, they fought against many terrible adversaries. Evil mutants, cosmic entities, xenomorph ripoffs, terrible editors, the not-so-hidden fetishes of their writers, but their biggest adversary is prejudice. Humans hate mutants because of their powers and deny them the right to live peacefully. Taking advantage of this fear, preposterous people created the Sentinels, giant robots with only one purpose: to eradicate this oppressed minority from the planet by any means necessary. And I am here to tell you that mutant hatred makes absolutely no sense in the Marvel Universe. I am sorry to every person with a child comprehension of reality who uses the X-Men as a metaphor to any social problems they want to tackle. You know what? I'm not sorry. Read a book, or better yet, read a book other than Harry Potter. But anyways, I'm here to explain why mutant hatred makes no sense and how the X-Men defining dilemma depends on the world's biggest handwave to work. So buckle up, kids. I'm about to trash your enjoyment of one of the most recognizable superhero franchises of all time. Oh, who am I kidding? Marvel has been doing this for decades! Before we start, you want to know a fun game you can play to find out if your friend is an old school comic book fan or just a normie who started enjoying heroes because they became trendy? Watch X-Men 97 with them. If they gasp in awe when they see Cyclops on that "To me, my X-Men" scene and tell you that they didn't know Scott Summers was such a badass, they are filthy, disgusting, reprehensible normies. Cyclops was always a badass in the comics. Boring, but badass. Only a normie who grew up with the Fox movies where Cyclops was turned from a butt kicker into James Marsden wouldn't know that. Heck, Cyclops was so badass that there was a time Psylocke wanted to make puppies with him. By Jove, Emma Frost actually did! No puppies came from that union, but eggheads, they tried! Where was I? Oh yeah, the X-Men. Who are they? The X-Men are the collective brain aneurysm of writer extraordinaire Stan Lee and the angriest penciler of all time, Jack Kirby. A supergroup of people with amazing powers. Cyclops, who, as previously stated, can have any woman he wants and also blasts energy farts from his eyes. Jean Grey, who has the power of dying, coming back, being cloned, and generally being the varsity girl the main hero is attracted to for no other reason than her being hot. Archangel, who is part chicken. Beast, who has the power of being the only cultured person living in a school. And Iceman, whose power is becoming gay, for it was trendy to do so in the late 2010s. Now, if you're a dummy, you probably think that the X-Men were created as an allegory to the civil rights movements of the 1960s, and while they could be seen that way, truth of the matter is, Stan Lee created mutants, an entire subspecies of humanity that is born with amazing powers, because he got lazy and didn't want to think of new origin stories for characters. Look, you don't need to believe me. Here's the guy himself speaking of his creation.
Well, my biggest problem was, how did they get these superpowers? I had already run out of people being bitten by radioactive spiders and being subjected to gamma rays and cosmic rays, and I took the cowardly way out. I said, I'm just going to say they're mutants. We all know there are mutations in nature. So these people, they were just born that way, and then I don't have to come up with far-fetched explanations.
See? Told you. Stanley got lazy. Nya 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 nya. Anyway, for a long time the phrase protecting a world that hates and fears them was the absolute definition of what the X-Men were, and prejudice became one of the running themes of the group's stories. But like I said, I'm here to pull a Joe Quesada and ruin everything for you guys. So let me tell you, mutant hatred makes absolutely no sense in the Marvel Universe. And I'll explain you why after a word from today's sponsor, Nobody! Gosh darn it, no sponsors again. Another month eating cardboard, I guess. Okay, prejudice against mutants makes no sense. Let me explain you. Okay, the main problem here is the Marvel Universe is full of superpowered people. If you live in New York, when you are trying to avoid the bums in the street on your way to work, you can look up and see Spider-Man swinging from building to building. At lunch break, when you are walking to the nearest deli to get some dog chow for your meal, there is a huge chance you'll see Robert Downey Jr. in a suit of armor flying towards his building. Take a wrong left when you are driving and you'll end up at the Sanctum Sanctorum, where Dr. Stephen Strange is probably conjuring some ancient incantation that might make Dormammu become your new roommate. And I'm pretty sure that college kids make a game of trying to bang their sweethearts behind the Baxter building without alerting the Fantastic Four security systems. My point here is, every 2 steps of the way you stumble into someone with abilities much above the ones of a regular Joe. Be they super soldiers from the 1940s, humanoid arachnids, billionaires in flying suits, giant green men, sorcerers, Norse gods, Greek gods, space gods, and the most unbelievable of all beings, honest lawyers. In a world like this, why would anyone give 2 poops about mutants? Oh, you are a demon from the depths of heck with a skull head on fire? Well, you are welcome here, sir, as long as you are not a mutant. Get out here, you buxom southern belle, you! We don't like your kind here. Why can't you be more like Mr. Beelzebub on wheels here? See how that makes absolutely no sense?
But Gruff, racism makes no sense. We are all the same in real world. White, blacks, Asians, Arabs, Jews, natives, Konosuba fans, and prejudice still exists. It's an illogical thing, so of course people in a world full of super beings would find reasons to hate some and not others.
You have a good point. Good thinking, lad. Here, have a bonbon. That could be a good explanation, except for the fact that everyone running Marvel for the past few decades is stupid. Okay, let's say that people in the Marvel Universe hate mutants. Why do they hate those born with power and not those who gain power? I could go all intellectual here and quote Truman Capote, but I'll let Chuck Palahniuk do it.
I was commenting about how in Breakfast at Tiffany's, Truman Capote had made this observation that Americans don't like true beauty, true classical natural beauty. They want to see a very plain person who has been so groomed, so exercised, so made up, so stylized, that she can kind of pass as this amazing, strange beauty. That's what Americans want, because natural classic beauty is not egalitarian. You're either born with it or you're not. They want to see a plain person who has been transformed.
Thank you, Mr. Palahniuk. You are a gentleman and a sage. Now, using Capote's argument, we could say that mutant powers are not egalitarian. Wolverine was born with a healing factor, claws, and a natural aroma of smegma. That's not fair to regular Joe. Now, Spider-Man, he was just a nerdy kid who got bit by a radioactive spider and got superpowers instead of lymphoma. Now, that is something normal people can aspire to. While you have to win the genetics lottery to study at Charles Xavier's school and have a foursome with Emma Frost, Storm, and Psylocke, to become Spider-Man, all you need to do is play with radiation until you start crawling up walls. Equality! We can make the argument that regular people hate mutants because they perceive them as having an unfair advantage in life, while mutates, that's how Marvel used to call people who gained their powers, I don't know if they still do, are just normal fellas who through hard work or sheer dumb luck got themselves to the point they are in life. We could argue that, sure, but that brings up another issue. That it's impossible for a normal person to know who is a mutant and who is a normal guy that was granted superpowers. Unless you are a guy with room temperature IQ who goes around telling everyone you are a mutant and that you live in a school specifically created for your kind, people won't know if you were born with those claws or if they were implanted later. Sure, there are cases like Nightcrawler, Marrow, and any of the Morlocks in which they can't hide their appearance, but again, how does someone know that Nightcrawler was born with his powers and not turned into who he is by some crazy supervillain? There are a lot of those in the Marvel Universe. Old Kurt could even use that to his advantage. Just tell some impressionable girl that you used to be handsome, that you used to look like Fabio, but then the red phallus, or something, injected you with the blue velvet serum, and you gained superpowers but also no longer looks like an Italian god. Yeah, act like you are hurt on the inside. Cheese and crackers, can you imagine the amount of poontang Nightcrawler could get by pulling one of those? Also this, secret identities. Regular folk don't know Peter Parker is Spider-Man the same way they don't know Scott Summers is Cyclops. Just put on a mask when you are doing heroic things. Don't go around telling everybody that you're a mutant, and when you go home, take off your uniform, dress like regular Schmo Joe, and enjoy life. And if an emergency happens and you have to use your mutant powers to save the day, again, unless you go around screaming, "I'm a mutant!" there is no way people around you can know if your powers were the result of mutation or an accident, experiment, cosmic rays, God farting on your face when you were distracted, or whatever. That said, have you noticed how in the comics the X-Men don't always mingle with other characters? We have collaborations here and there, sure, but the X-Men mostly keep to themselves. There was this moment during the Marvel Civil War, the first one, the good one, when Tony Stank went to Emma Frost and asked her help in dealing with Captain America's rebels. And she said, "Dude, I have too many problems with my own people now, go suck a peach." In lore, she was taking such a stance because Tony and the other heroes normally don't lift a finger to stop any potential mutant genocide that might be happening in the neighborhood. But in all honesty, the writers simply wanted to keep the X-Men out of the story because they knew their presence would make things completely pointless. I mean, the Civil War happened because the US government decided that superheroes needed to be registered and have their identities become public. Iron Man was for it and Captain America was not. Other heroes chose their sides. Dude, the government have been persecuting mutants forever. Politicians been trying to have mutant registration acts ever since the American Constitution was laid to paper. Can you see how stupid the Civil War becomes the moment you add the X-Men to the mix? Everything is stupid! Yeah, I know, it sounds like I don't like the X-Men, but it's the exact opposite. I grew up in the 90s, which was, in my opinion, the greatest era to be an X-Men fan. We had the absolute greatest comics run of the heroes with Jim Lee and his fabulous women with 100-mile legs. We had the cartoon. We had a lot of amazing video games starred by the Mutants, both on consoles and the arcades. And we were on the cusp of receiving the X-Men movie, which catapulted superheroes into the mainstream, for better or worse. I have a very special place for the X-Men in my heart. I only think they work best when left in their own pocket space. The idea of being heroes while fighting prejudice is a core element of the X-Men, but it's something that crumbles to dust when they get entangled with other superpowered beings that don't have to suffer the same. The hatred the X-Men face could work in their world, but I see that bringing back the same problems Marvel had when they published the Transformers comics in the 1980s. Let me explain. The Transformers comics were initially a part of 616, that is, the mainline Marvel universe, so yeah, there was a time the Autobots and the Avengers could have been bowling rivals. In fact, there was one issue where Spider-Man, then donning the symbiote, invaded the Decepticon base along with Autobot Gears and helped him rescue Sparkplug with Wiki. See? This is Spider-Man wrapping Megatron with his webs! Eventually, Marvel gave up on mixing the Transformers with their main cast of heroes. To my knowledge, there was never an official explanation to that, but it's commonly accepted that the Transformers conflict became too big to be ignored and that every facet of the Marvel universe would be consumed by it. I mean, giant, almost indestructible transforming robots arrive at your planet and start waging war for our natural resources? That is something that would be on the radar of every superhero and villain on the planet. The exact same thing could happen with mutants. If the editors at Marvel wanted to make sense on why mutants are hated but other superpower beings are not, the entire existence of their universe would need to gravitate around this discussion. Every time a new superhero showed up, there would be a huge debate if they are mutants or not, and it might become a central part of that hero's persona. Imagine how annoying and boring this would be if it happened to every character. Let's go back to Spider-Man for a moment. John Jonah Jameson uses the Daily Bugle to defame the hero, hence New York hates and distrusts Spidey. But what if he was a mutant? Would Jameson be committing a hate crime to do so? There was that time that Spidey claimed Jameson hated him because he was black, and the editor started pooping bricks at the allegation. If there was a shred of a doubt that the friendly neighborhood was a mutant, and thanks to his secret identity, I don't see why it wouldn't be, would Jameson really consider his crusade against the hero, risking to be labeled as a racist mutant hater? I could extend this example to every superhero whose origins are not known by the public in general, but I think I made my point clear. We would need a lot of work from the bosses at Marvel to organize a fictional world that makes distinctions between super beings, and we know that nobody at Marvel today is qualified to do such a thing. I mean, Marvel is not putting Peter Parker and Mary Jane back together in the mainline comics. Fans really want to see them back as a couple, and Marvel is not doing it. That's absolute proof that we have a room full of baboons running the former House of Ideas. That's what we used to call Marvel. House of Ideas. I miss those days when such a title actually was earned. Anyways, the best way to enjoy the X-Men when they share the same universe with other heroes is to not think too much about it. Just enjoy short Canuck man going vroom on big robot and you'll be fine. Or just watch X-Men Evolution. Yeah, there was no Spider-Man, no Fantastic Four, no Avengers. We had Captain America, sure, but he was a one-shot guest, so mutants had no equals. And the whole super-powered beings are an unknown threat worked perfectly in that context. you can also stick with the movies. If you're a normie, at least until Disney decides to stick the X-Men chocolate into the MCU's peanut butter and we know Mickey is going to poop the bed with Doomsday. They always ruin everything now. Have you seen Snow White? Or what they did to Star Wars? Have you hope still for anything Marvel that might come? And that's it. I have no big conclusions this time. I wish I had. I just wanted to say that despite my love for the X-Men, their entire existence is stupid. They are like that dumb kitten that keeps pooping outside of the litter box, but you can't get mad at them no matter what. So, yeah. I'll end the video by saying this. Whoever decided to make Rogue a goth girl in X-Men Evolution deserved to be canonized. Best choice ever! And until next time, always remember, there are no bad ideas or bad characters, only bad writers. I'll see you around. The X-Men, mutants, heroes, united by fate under the guiding eye of Professor blah blah blah.